The fluorescent kitchen light buzzed like an angry hornet, and I sat at the head of the mahogany table, my hands gripping the edge as if it were the hull of a ship in a storm. The oak chair beneath me groaned slightly under my weight. Solid, reliable, something I couldn't say about my own life right now. Tyler sat across from me, scrolling his phone with the expression of a man perpetually irritated by the very air he breathed. I tightened the screw on my chair again, just to hear the wood protest. I wanted to feel the familiar resistance beneath my fingers. It reminded me I was still alive, still capable, still Garrett Stone, not some old man waiting to be replaced. When my wife Meredith had been alive, Sunday dinners were laughter and stories, and occasionally a little playful argument over whether her roast chicken was too dry or if I had underseasoned my steak. But Meredith was gone, 5 years now, and what remained of those dinners was a weekly audit of my existence. Tyler and Brittany didn't come to eat. They came to inspect their inheritance. Brittany carried the roast chicken like a trophy, still in its plastic container. She didn't even glance at the plates. "Here you go, Dad," she said, her voice pitched in that unnatural octave people use for toddlers or elderly parents they think can't hear properly. "We brought you dinner. You must be tired of cooking for yourself." I cut a piece of the chicken. "I cooked a steak for myself last night." "Brittany, I am old, not infirm." Tyler sighed loudly, dropping his phone onto the table with a casual clatter. "Don't be difficult, Dad. We're just trying to help. You know Brittany's right. This place is a hazard. I saw a loose shingle on the roof when we pulled in. If you climb up there and fall, who's going to find you?" I chewed slowly. "I fixed that shingle this morning, Tyler, before you were even awake." They exchanged a glance I had seen countless times over the past 6 months. A silent calculation, the cold logic of people who have long since replaced familial love with personal gain. Brittany reached into her oversized designer handbag and produced a thick blue folder. She slid it across the table, deliberately displacing the salt shaker. "Since we're all here, Dad, we need to discuss the future," she said. "Tyler and I spoke to Dr. Evans. He agrees that at your age, managing a 4-bedroom property and a portfolio of assets is just too much stress. It's bad for your heart." I set my fork down slowly. "My heart is fine, Brittany. My blood pressure is lower than Tyler's, and I've been climbing ladders, swinging hammers, and hauling steel for longer than either of them has been alive." Tyler leaned forward. His eyes were bloodshot, telling me he'd been up late gambling online again. I had seen the notifications flash across his phone last week when it was unlocked. He thought I was too old to understand technology, too retired to grasp finances. He had no idea I owned 3 apartment complexes in the city under a holding company. He had no idea that his inheritance wasn't just this house. It was a fortune I had built brick by brick, sweat by sweat, and curse by curse. "Dad, listen to me," Tyler said, voice hardening. "You're forgetting things. Last week you forgot to pay the water bill." I looked him dead in the eye. "I did not forget. The auto-pay system had a glitch. I fixed it in 10 minutes. You're confused, Tyler." Brittany pressed her manicured finger onto the folder. "This is a durable power of attorney. It just gives us the right to help you manage the accounts, to make sure you don't get scammed. We're doing this because we love you." Love. That word tasted like ash in my mouth. I looked at my son. He was sweating. Desperation leaked from every pore. He was underwater on his mortgage, maxed out 3 credit cards, and now he wanted to drain my accounts under the guise of helping. I spoke low and steady, the voice I used to command 200 men on construction sites. "I am not signing anything." Tyler slammed his hand on the table. Silverware jumped. "You have to sign it. You're incompetent. You're just a stubborn old man sitting on a gold mine while your family suffers." There it was, the mask slipped. The truth bared itself in his eyes, greed, desperation, entitlement. I stood up. My knees popped, but I rose tall. I am 6'2". Even at 71, I still cast a shadow. "Get out," I said. "Get out of my house." The tension shattered as a sound cut through the room, sharp and impossible, a digital monophonic ringtone, tinny and familiar. The default Nokia 3310 ringtone. The room froze. Brittany's hands stiffened over the folder. Tyler's mouth hung open. The sound emanated from the corner where I kept Meredith's fine china and the small wooden box containing the few things we had recovered from Leo's accident. My breath hitched. That phone had been buried 6 feet under the earth, in the pocket of my dead son's denim jacket, for 25 years. I walked toward the cabinet. My legs felt like lead. The ringing persisted, insistent, impossible. Tyler whispered, "Dad, don't touch it. It's probably just a timer. You set an alarm long ago and forgot." I opened the wooden box inside the cabinet. The gray brick of a Nokia 3310 vibrated against the velvet lining. The screen glowed green. 3 letters appeared. Leo. My hands trembled. My brain refused to process it. My son, my 20-year-old boy, was calling me. I pressed the answer button. "Dad," came a weak, static-filled whisper, unmistakable in its tone. "Do not sign the paper. They are going to kill you. I don't have much time." Tyler snatched the phone, his face drained of color for a moment before rage slammed back. He pressed the end call button violently, throwing the phone onto the carpet. The device bounced but did not break. Nokias never broke. "What is wrong with you, Dad?" Tyler shouted. "Who is playing this sick joke? You programmed this yourself, didn't you?" I whispered, more to myself than to him. It was Leo. It was Leo's voice. Tyler shook me violently. "Leo is dead. He's been dead for 25 years. You are hallucinating." Brittany already had Dr. Evans on her phone, fingers flying, setting the stage for a public display of insanity. I pulled away. I was not crazy. The phone rang. I heard it. Tyler held it. They did not see what I saw. When Dr. Evans arrived with a sedative, Tyler and Brittany were relieved. Proof that Garrett Stone was unfit. Proof that they could take control. I took the blue pill he offered, hiding it between cheek and gum, buying myself time. I waited until the house was silent, until their car faded down the street. Then I sat at my study desk, logging into the cloud backup I had set up for sentimental reasons. There it was, a record of the incoming call. Leo's voice. The metadata traced it to a facility in West Virginia, Sanctuary Hills. My son was alive. My son was trapped. And someone had just broken his silence to warn me. I reached for my keys, my service pistol, and my old army instincts. Sunday dinner was over. A war had begun. The house was silent, the kind of silence that presses against your ears and fills every empty corner with suspicion. I sat at my study desk, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The Nokia 3310 sat beside me, inert now, yet still vibrating with the memory of Leo's voice. The cloud backup I had set up years ago, a sentimental indulgence really, was my lifeline. I logged in, heart hammering like it wanted to escape my chest. There it was, a digital record of the call. Sunday, 7:03 p.m. Incoming unknown number. Duration, 12 seconds. Audio saved. I hit play. "Dad, do not sign the papers. They are going to kill you. I don't have much time." The waveform danced on the screen. Real. Every spike, every static hiss confirmed what my ears had heard. This was no hallucination. No glitch. My son was alive, and somehow, after 25 years, he was calling me. I traced the IP packets. Expected a ghost. Expected nothing. But the signal was solid. Origin, 300 meters away. I pulled up satellite imagery. Coordinates, a remote facility in the mountains of West Virginia. Fences, guard towers, a main building that looked less like a hospital and more like a high-security prison. Sanctuary Hills. I closed my eyes, leaning back. My son had been alive all this time, buried by lies, held in a cage far from the world. And now he was reaching out. The memory of Tyler and Brittany at the dinner table came back. Their casual cruelty, their calculated smiles, their relief when Dr. Evans arrived. They had thought the phone incident proved I was losing it. They had thought they had won. They had underestimated me. Always, I opened Meredith's metal lockbox. Under a pile of old tax returns lay the bank book. Cayman Islands account. Monthly payments to Sanctuary Hills. $5,000. 25 years. Patient 104. The latest receipt dated the day before Meredith died. My hands shook. Patient 104, Sanctuary Hills, Leo. Everything Meredith had done in secret, hidden from me, from Alan, even from Tyler, suddenly clicked. Her meticulous planning, the insurance money from Leo's death, the donations. She hadn't buried just her secrets. She had buried my son. I grabbed the phone, dialing the only man in town I could trust. Alan Henderson, old friend, old soldier, same platoon 50 years ago. Alan had seen war, and he knew which battles demanded brute force and which demanded patience. He answered after the third ring. Garrett, it's late. What is it? I didn't pause. Alan, it's Leo. He's alive. I need the files for the Leo Stone Memorial Fund. There was a pause, then a low groan. Garrett, that fund's been closed for years. Meredith dissolved it before she passed. No, I said sharply. She buried it just like she buried everything else. Alan was quiet, muttering curses under his breath. Finally, if this is real, meet me at my office. Now. The drive to Alan's house was quiet. The night air cut through the truck's cab, sharp as a knife. I parked in shadows and approached silently, tapping the code we had used decades ago. 3 knocks on his study window. A second later, a flicker of light. Alan appeared, hair wild, robe barely tied. Garrett, he whispered, voice rough with sleep. If you haven't killed anyone yet, use the back door. No one yet, I said. The weight in my chest was something heavier than fear, anger, resolve, a father's protective fury. Inside, the kitchen smelled of coffee and old paper. I placed Meredith's lockbox and the Sanctuary Hills receipt on the table. Alan looked at it, his face paling. Why? He breathed. Why hide him? I told him everything. The phone call, the power plays, Tyler and Brittany, the blue folder, Dr. Evans. He flipped through the ledgers, donations, insurance payouts, modest grants at first, then 18 months after Leo's death, a standing monthly order. $5,000 every month for 25 years. SH Management, Alan muttered. Sanctuary Hills. That's the criminally insane wing. High-risk patients. Costly. Unreachable. They were keeping him alive, I said. For Tyler? For something bigger. Something Meredith started, and he called me. We pored over every page, every note, every ledger. Every number pointed to the same impossible truth. My son was alive, and he was trapped. Alan rubbed his face. I signed off on audits, Garrett. I trusted her. We all did. This was her weapon. Against Tyler? Against the world? I didn't answer. The phone vibrated again. Not ringing, just an alert. Ping from the cloud backup. The call, metadata. Timestamp, 7:03 p.m. Sunday, duration, 12 seconds. Audio intact, IP traced, signal solid. I leaned back, fists tight. 25 years of lies, 25 years of planning, 25 years of waiting. And now the game had shifted. The mountains of West Virginia awaited. Sanctuary Hills was more than a building. It was a cage, and I was going to break it. I checked my gun, old service pistol, still polished. The truck was parked outside. Night draped over the streets, silent, empty, perfect. A father's fury is a precision instrument. I had spent a lifetime building towers, spotting cracks, preventing collapse. Now it would be applied to something far more personal. Leo was alive, and I was coming for him. The night outside my house was a quiet predator, still and patient, as if the world itself were holding its breath for what I was about to do. I sat at my custom-built PC, the 3 monitors glowing faintly in the darkness. Tyler and Brittany thought the solitaire games were all I did here. They had no idea. No idea that for years I had been teaching myself cybersecurity, network protocols, and digital tracking, entertainments for an old man with too much time on his hands. Now those skills were no longer a hobby, they were a weapon. The first task was clear. Sanctuary Hills, a fortress in the mountains of West Virginia. High fences, guard towers, armed personnel. Patient 104, Leo Stone, had been living behind those walls for 25 years. Every ledger, every receipt, Every metadata packet from the cloud confirmed it. This wasn't a hallucination. This was reality. My son was alive. My son was trapped. I pulled up satellite imagery, zooming in on every corner of the facility. Gates, cameras, patrol routes, the main building. I traced the roads leading up the mountain, marking possible approaches and escape routes. I calculated patrol shifts based on the shadows and movement patterns visible on the images I could access. The fortress had been built to be impervious to the average person. But I wasn't average. I had built skyscrapers that bent steel with my hands. I knew structural weaknesses, hidden vulnerabilities. My coffee sat cold beside me. I barely noticed. My mind was a machine churning through possibilities. How to get in, how to get Leo out, how to leave no trace. I reached for a notebook, lined, dog-eared, the kind I had carried since my army days. I wrote down every detail. Perimeter fences, 15-foot high, topped with razor wire, likely alarmed. Guard towers, 4 visible, possibly more. Likely 2-person shifts. Cameras, probable infrared, night vision, motion detection. Entry points, front gate impossible. Supply road, maybe. Underground utility access, needs reconnaissance. Escape routes, steep cliffs, dense forest, service road for maintenance vehicles. I mapped every point with precision. Every number, every measurement mattered. In my army days, overlooking a single angle meant death. Tonight, it would mean saving my son. Alan called just as I finished my preliminary plan. His voice was low, cautious. Garrett, you sure you want to do this yourself? Sanctuary Hills it's not just a psychiatric facility. There are security protocols, legal traps, armed staff. You go in wrong and it's over before it begins. I have no choice, I said. This isn't a mission you can delegate. Leo's alive, Alan. He's calling me. 25 years. And now he's reaching out. Alan was silent. Then, I'll help remotely. I can dig through archives, old contacts, financial records, construction blueprints, anything that can give you leverage. I nodded. That was enough. Physical entry would be mine, but intelligence would be the key. If Sanctuary Hills had walls, I would find cracks. If they had doors, I would find keys. I traced my fingers over the locks on my desk, the ones Meredith had kept to herself. Patient 104 had been carefully maintained, hidden from me, hidden from Alan, hidden even from Tyler. The realization hit me. Meredith had been a genius in concealment. 25 years of careful planning just to keep Leo safe and hidden. I dug through every file I could find, old tax returns, bank transfers, building permits, insurance claims. Everything led to the same pattern. Sanctuary Hills was meticulous, expensive, secure, but no fortress is perfect. Not when a man knows how to read foundations, beams, and schematics. Not when a man has 50 years of experience in observation, construction, and military strategy. The night deepened, shadows lengthened across the floorboards. I thought of Leo, my boy, trapped for decades. I remembered his laugh, the way he swung from monkey bars, the denim jacket I had buried him in after the fire. And now, 25 years later, he was alive, calling me through a phone buried 6 feet underground. Anger and grief sharpened into focus. Tyler and Brittany had thought they could manipulate me, control me, dismiss the warning as insanity. They had no idea. They didn't know who Garrett Stone really was. They didn't know the army, the construction sites, the nights alone studying strategy and security. I packed a small bag, pistol, extra magazines, flashlight, climbing gear, satellite phone, and a notebook full of my maps. I didn't need to be reckless. I needed precision, patience, and patience demanded planning. Before leaving, I accessed the cloud backup for the Nokia 3310. Metadata, IP packets, geolocation, everything could be traced. The call originated from the northwest wing of Sanctuary Hills, narrowed it down to one building, one floor, one section. Patient 104. I sat back and took a deep breath. Every muscle ached. My hands were steady, My mind was sharper than it had been in years. This was no longer a mystery. This was a mission, and every mission has a plan. The first step tomorrow would be reconnaissance. Satellite imagery wasn't enough. I needed to see the terrain firsthand, measure the fences, understand the patrols, confirm escape routes. I would drive up the mountains pretending to be nothing more than a retired man on a scenic tour. Nobody would suspect a 71-year-old grandfather with a service pistol tucked in his bag. I poured a final cup of coffee and stared at the glowing monitors. Sanctuary Hills, patient 104, Leo, alive, waiting. I clenched my fists. I'm coming for you, son. I swear it. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees as if answering me. The mountains were dark, the path steep and treacherous, but I didn't care. I had waited 25 years. I would not wait one more day. The mountains of West Virginia rose before me like jagged teeth under a dark sky. Mist hung in the valleys, weaving among the pines, and the moon cast a pale silver light across the slopes. I gripped the steering wheel of my old truck tighter than necessary, the leather worn smooth from decades of use, my pulse steady but alert. Sanctuary Hills was ahead, fortress-like, unyielding. But I had seen weaknesses in bigger, deadlier structures. I drove slowly along the winding service road, every turn a study in patience. The facility was tucked in a fold of the mountains, partially obscured by trees, partially revealed to anyone looking for a threat. From the satellite images, I knew the guard rotations, but seeing them in person told a different story. Guards moved in predictable shifts, yes, but they were sloppy in the dark, relying on motion sensors and cameras more than intuition. That would be my advantage. I parked in a shadowed clearing a few hundred meters from the perimeter. From there, I could see the northern fence, the one that curved around a slope that descended sharply into a creek. Cameras were spaced every 20 meters, infrared no doubt, but their coverage overlapped enough to create small blind spots. Perfect for a 71-year-old man with 25 years of anger and focus behind him. I unpacked my climbing gear, strapping on harnesses, ropes, and carabiners. My pistol stayed holstered, heavy against my hip, a reminder that this was no vacation. I checked the satellite phone once more. Battery full, signal strong, backup ready. I crawled forward, low over the damp ground, silent as the mist itself. Every movement was deliberate. The first fence loomed ahead, 15 feet high, topped with razor wire. My mind raced through solutions. A rope ladder, anchored to the trees, timing, patience, precision. I could feel the cold sweat along my spine, a familiar friend from years of work in combat. As I scaled the first fence, I noticed a guard ahead, flashlight sweeping lazily across the compound. Timing. I waited. The guard passed. I slid over the wire, my hands raw but steady, landing silently on the other side. Heart steady, mind clear. Inside the outer perimeter, I moved between buildings, studying the patrols, noting cameras, listening for footsteps. A service entrance door, unguarded, revealed itself beneath a maintenance overhang. Metal, old, slightly rusted. Perfect. I jimmied it open, a skill honed in Army days, and slipped inside. The smell hit me immediately. Antiseptic, industrial cleaners, and something else. Metallic, cold, oppressive. Fluorescent lights flickered. I was inside Sanctuary Hills. Hallways stretched before me, empty at this hour. I paused at intersections listening. Footsteps echoed faintly. I mapped every corridor in my mind, comparing it to the schematics I had pulled from Allen and cross-referenced with my satellite images. The north wing, second floor, patient 104. Leo, alive. I found a stairwell and moved upward quietly, gripping my flashlight like a weapon. Every door I passed had a small electronic panel beside it. Swipe cards, keypads, barriers. But barriers are only as strong as the people enforcing them. I noted each, marking weaknesses for later. The first real obstacle appeared when a guard rounded the corner, muttering into a radio. I pressed myself against the wall, heart hammering, breath controlled. The guard passed without seeing me. I exhaled slowly, appreciating the rhythm of my pulse, the clarity of my mind. Fear was present, yes, but focused, sharpened into a tool. Then I saw it. The door marked patient 104. A small plaque, brass, polished. Leo, my son. I crouched behind a cart surveying the security. Cameras, motion sensors, electronic locks. No way to brute force this, not yet. Patience, timing, observation. I crouched there for hours, mapping the rotation of guards, the rhythm of the facility, the weak points I could exploit. Every step, every corner, every shadow became a potential ally. And every minute that passed, my son's voice replayed in my head. Do not sign the papers. They are going to kill you. I realized then that Tyler and Brittany's greed was only a symptom. The real danger wasn't them. It was Sanctuary Hills, the place that had stolen my son. And now, armed with knowledge, determination, and experience, I had the tools to take it back. As dawn threatened the horizon, I retreated to a hidden spot behind a cluster of trees. The reconnaissance was complete. I knew the facility, its patterns, its vulnerabilities. I knew where Leo was, and I knew how I could get him. But this was only the beginning, the real challenge, the infiltration, the confrontation, the extraction lay ahead. And I would need every skill I had learned in 50 years of life to survive what was coming. I stared at the first streaks of morning light through the mist. Leo had waited 25 years. I would not fail him now. The first light of dawn was just a whisper on the mountaintops as I approached the final stretch to Sanctuary Hills. Mist curled around the trees, hiding me from patrols and cameras. My truck was parked a mile away, a camouflage of rocks and shadows. Every step now was a calculated risk. One misstep, one slip, one careless glance from a guard, and 25 years of waiting, 25 years of planning would end in failure. I slung my climbing rope over my shoulder, flashlight clipped to my chest and pistol holstered under my jacket. I wasn't here to play hero. I was here to bring my son home. Leo had survived unimaginable horrors, but he had called me. That call was a lifeline, and I was not going to let it go. The North Wing, second floor, patient 104. I reached the maintenance door I had scoped out during reconnaissance. A quick bypass, a twist of the lock, and I was inside. The fluorescent lights hummed faintly, and I pressed myself against the wall, listening. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. I waited, heart steady, mind sharp. Timing was everything. The door to Leo's cell came into view. Small, reinforced, but not impenetrable. Electronic lock, security camera, motion sensor, every element accounted for in my plan. I crouched, removed the small toolkit I had packed, and began working on the lock. Years of Army training and decades of construction work made my hands precise. Every movement measured, every tool carefully applied. The lock clicked. My breath hitched, not with fear, but anticipation. I opened the door just enough to slip inside. There he was, Leo. Older, harder, but unmistakably my son. His eyes widened in disbelief as he saw me. Dad? His voice was hoarse, weak, but real. Alive. I'm here, Leo. I've got you. My voice was calm, controlled, but inside a storm of relief and fury raged. He didn't need convincing. He knew me. He had waited, and now, finally, I was here. I led him quietly through the hallway, careful to avoid patrols, cameras, and sensors. Every step was a test, but every step brought us closer to freedom. Then the alarm blared, a high-pitched scream of metal and warning lights. A guard spotted movement on a camera. They were on to us. "Run, Leo!" I shouted. He obeyed without hesitation. Gunshots cracked through the hallways. I returned fire with controlled precision, disabling 2 guards, forcing others to take cover. My Army training, my years as a foreman, leading crews in life or death situations, every lesson burned into me now. We reached the stairwell. Guards poured into the corridor behind us. I could hear their shouts, their boots pounding the floor. I led Leo down, faster, his hand gripping mine, our combined will stronger than fear. Outside, the cliffside escape route I had scouted during reconnaissance waited. The drop was steep, treacherous, but it was our only chance. I anchored the rope, securing it to a tree, then helped Leo down first, controlling his descent with care. We moved silently through the trees, the facility's alarms echoing behind us like distant thunder. The morning mist hid our tracks. Every step away from Sanctuary Hills was a victory. Every shadow we passed was freedom. Finally, after an hour of tense navigation, we reached the truck. I helped Leo inside. He collapsed into the seat, exhausted, trembling, but alive. I started the engine, heart still racing, mind alert. Sanctuary Hills faded behind us, a fortress defeated not by force alone, but by patience, planning, and a father's unwavering resolve. We drove down the mountain in silence, both of us absorbing the reality. Leo was alive. 25 years of lies, of pain, of hidden cruelty had ended. Tyler and Brittany, Dr. Evans, all their plots, they counted on my age, my appearance, my supposed fragility. They underestimated Garrett Stone, and they would pay for it, not with violence, not with rage, but with exposure. The evidence, the bus, the receipts, the call records, all safe. Justice doesn't always need a gun. Sometimes it needs truth. Leo turned to me, eyes wide, voice hoarse. "Dad, you saved me." "No," I said. "We saved each other." The mountains receded behind us. The road ahead was long, uncertain, but for the first time in 25 years, the horizon was ours. The past had tried to bury us, but we were still here, alive, together. And Garrett Stone, at 71, still stood tall. The fire inside him, the drive to protect and to fight, was undiminished. Sanctuary Hills was behind us. The future, however uncertain, was ours to shape.